Hey, would you look at that? A sub 1 minute FARAKEL run. So I will explain how I did it. As you can see, it's definitely possible. It's not like a super duper RNG run. We have a person who did it in 35 seconds, and I think for this one, it's probably a one shot in the first phase, not even in the second phase, because I think one shotting in the first phase is definitely possible. It may need some higher setup, different monsters. Some of those monsters might be light and dark nat 5s. Unfortunately, I don't have those, so it's a little bit more difficult. It's also a Soletta, and I will say that this is pretty much only possible, in most cases at least, for Solettas and Cleaves, because they have easily accessible damage up buffs. You can use a Dark Pumpkin or a Wind Chimera, but it will be a little bit more difficult, right? Because you need to switch, you need some more mana, you need mana for using those skills, so it might be a little bit more difficult. Do try it out though, but yeah, I'll explain how I did it. So first thing I want to say is this is not really suitable for farming FARAKEL, right? This is more of a, if you just want to get a high score, be in the leaderboards, if you want to compete for the title here or something like that, right? It's definitely not a consistent strategy. I will say that you can even set it up only like once every 5 runs, and even once you set that up, you will only manage to kill the boss probably like 1 out of 10 times. So yeah, there's a lot of failures involved. Definitely don't take it as a method where you can actually farm it at least consistently. No. I've been trying for like 4 hours, and I think I've managed to kill the boss like 2 times total. So yeah, it's not a consistent one, but I'll explain how I did it, several strategies that I tried out, right? So this is the monster box of what you will need. Okay, you don't really need this unit. You can replace it with Wind Epicium Priest. I found that Wind Epicium works even better, to be honest, because this guy, when you use his second skill, he just moves towards the boss instead of using it on you. So forget this guy, use the Wind Michelle, like Epicium Priest instead. The main units you will need is the main damage dealer, which is the Brandia. For others, it's mostly buffs and debuffs, so you don't have to use these units, but these are the units that I found best. In my high score run, I did not use a Windy, and I did not use this guy. I think I used the other 5 units. So the general strategy is you enter into the run and you charge your ultimate with Tiana, right? You just pump this and make sure that you stand inside the green circle, otherwise you will not get the ultimate gauge. Once you charge that up, you have your ultimate, and Brandia's ultimate skill is the one that will be doing damage. So to maximize the damage, there are a few buffs and a few debuffs that you need, right? So how you get those is up to you. I'm just saying what will help you the most, right? So the main ones will be attack up and damage dealt up. So attack up I get from Joaquin, and damage dealt up I get from Wind's skill 3 of Cleave, right? So Wind skill 3 of Cleave and Soletta Wind skill 3 both have the same buff. Soletta has a better one because her ultimate actually gives like level 5 or something, so it's even better than Cleave. Crit damage is optional because it caps at 400 and the buffs is included in that cap. So in my case, I didn't really need crit damage. These are the runes that I had on her, right? See, she's at 368 crit damage. I also used the 20 crit damage food, so she was pretty much at 390 crit damage, and that buff would only give me 10 extra crit damage, so I just didn't reuse it at all. Less setup needed, right? Another thing you need, this is not optional, this is a must, is the weakness exploit artifact, because this artifact is the thing that does the most damage, right? Without this artifact, you will be doing like 30% of the total damage. This artifact is what makes it OP, right? Because you get 60% defense penetration there. If you have a dot, you have another 30% penetration there. And you also have defense breaks, which will add up to that penetration, right? So for buffs, you need attack and damage dealt up, and crit damage being optional. For harmful effects, you need a bit more. So you'll need defense break, you will need damage taken up, and you'll need crit damage taken up. Now, crit damage taken up, unlike crit damage up, this one does stack beyond the 400 crit damage cap. So even if Let me just showcase what I mean. This one, like basically it says increases crit damage by 60%, right? So even if you have 400 crit damage, once you go from 60 to 80, it will increase the damage, unlike with the buff of the same effect, right? So you want to stack as much defense down as you can, you want to stack as much damage taken up as you can, and as much crit damage taken up as you can. So for defense break and damage taken up, I used this beautiful unit, Helia, who can actually, she will do a triple hit with this, and she can do defense break and damage taken up 3 times. So usually it will land like twice at least. And for crit damage taken up, you can do like a level 1 with a fire cleave skill 2, but the one I found to work way better is King, because just giving him like 2 seconds to use his basic attacks will stack like level 4, level 5 crit damage. So it's way better, right? So the way I did it is essentially you charge up your ultimate, and by that time you start swapping units, right? So what I did is I did a simple version. I didn't buff up my unit buffs, I didn't need crit damage, right? So what I would do is go for this, right? You kind of wanna avoid letting Brandia attack with any of her skills, because she will do a lot of damage and she will kill the boss until next phase, so which will ruin your run. So what I would do is I would buff up with Waki, switch to this thing, use all my mana to debuff the boss with the second skill of that, right? Switch to Brandia, you can attack the boss manually a bit. This will allow King to charge his basic attacks and that crit damage up, right? And with your cleave, while you are using Helia skills, you want to hit the boss with skill 3, switch to fire, you want to hit it with skill 2, and then do the big ultimate nuke with Brandia, right? For other summons it's gonna be a bit different. For example, I'm not even sure if you can do it with other summons apart from Orbi or Soletta, right? For Soletta it's very similar because she has dots on skill 2 and she has damage taken up on skill 3 for wind element, so the order is pretty much the same, right? For what's called Orbia, she sort of have similar skill set as the skill 2 of Helia, so you can stack defense break and damage dealt up a bit more. However, you do not have the damage taken up buff from the skill 3 like Soletta and Orbia does, right? For Kina, you have attack buff, so you may not even need Waki, you can save up on that, right? Instead of Waki, have like a Wind Chimera to get that damage boost, right? And what else is there? Heath, right? Yeah, don't do it on Heath. Honestly, don't do it on Heath. That ain't worth it. I don't think he can even get any like useful buffs or debuffs for a team. But yeah, that's how I did it. That's how I did it. The run was visible in the beginning, right? These are all of the units I use. So the main thing, of course, the damage dealer, if you're interested in runes. Other ones are really nothing special. King is on my Sharon set, basically a very fast attack speed, weak point build, right? As much attack speed as possible, maximum precision, so he actually hands those skills. Helia is on just a random tank set, just make sure she has high accuracy, right? Waki doesn't matter really. I would say even you can lower her attack and crit damage even more, because she does do a lot of damage and she might kill the boss sometimes, which is a bit of a problem, right? And yeah, Windy, Tiana, again, tanky sets doesn't really matter. I didn't even use Windy, but you can. You just basically, what you want to do is buff up with Waki, switch Waki to Windy, buff up with Windy, because Windy's buffs is 6 seconds shorter than Waki's, right? Once you take into account the enhancement amplification artifacts, of course, which in most cases will be sort of required, right? So for both Waki and Windy, you do want to be running these enhancement applications. But yeah, that's just, it's a fun thing to do, right? And it does feel nice to be in the leaderboards like that. So if you're someone who actually competes for these, right, or you just want to end up in the leaderboards, here's how I did it. It's definitely possible to do it in the first rotation, not just second. I was pretty close. I will showcase you a few runs from that. So yeah, this is one of those runs where I tried to one-shot in the first phase, right? The strategy for that was a bit different for me. So instead of going for a straight-up nuke, right? I believe that's what happened at least. I'll just check it out in a second, right? But instead of a nuke, right? Do I do it? No, it looks like this one was without Verde. One of the strategies where I used was I would charge my ultimate, I would ult with Verde, I would let the boss use his first rotation, and while he rotates, I would buff up, I would do a lot of debuffs, right, and ult on the second time. But for this one, it looks like I just used the regular one, so I buffed with Uhuaki, I buffed up with Windy, I switched to King and Helia, right, I will let Helia spam her skill 2 a few times. I usually try to let the boss go in the middle because I'll quickly stop it right there. Why you wanna go in the middle is, at least for cleave users, if you are standing somewhere on the outskirts, right, and the boss starts his animation, he will teleport to middle, and if you were standing in the middle, you would be able to ult and everything will be fine. If you're standing there, Cleave will have to walk very slowly towards the middle and only then ult, and then Brandia will simply not be able to land her hit. So I would do recommend rotating, and once you're ready to get those hits in, try to keep the boss as close to the middle as possible, yeah? But yeah, for this one, as you can see, I just set up the boss. Here's the final setup before the nuke. Level 5 damage taken up, level 4 defense break, a burn. I almost forgot this. You do need some sort of a continuous damage effect, right? Damage over time, whatever you want to call it, because otherwise the weakness exploit artifact will not proc. But yeah, level 1 crit damage taken up, level 5 damage taken up, level 4 defense break. On Brandia we got attack buff, damage taken up, crit damage level 2. And it was a nuke from 84% all the way up to 12%, which did 8.3 million damage. So I think it's definitely enough for some players who have a way stronger Brandia to nuke this. Now keep in mind, my Brandia is only level 1 in the book, right? So there's a lot of attack there. I think on this set she was on triple attack and she only had like 8,000 attacks, so there's definitely potential to buff up that a bit more as well. But yeah, feel free to play around with it. This is the closest I got to a single nuke, right? For the successful run I had to go second phase, but yeah, it's I'm not gonna lie, it's very fun, and yeah, peace.